The Kansas City Chiefs had a terrific 2025 NFL draft class. Who else? We're breaking down our favorite classes today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. This episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console required. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more.
Joe, happy Thursday. Happy May 1st.
May 1st.
No longer the month of the NFL draft.
It's the month of the NFL schedule release.
Yeah, it's less than 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, the 14th.
All right. Well, the 2025 NFL draft, we may not be in the month of anymore, but we do have the chance to look at some of our favorite draft classes from last weekend. We are 1 week from the first night of the 2025 NFL draft, and we spent the last couple of days looking at value picks on either side of the ball, taking away some of the formal methodology and putting a little bit more nuance into this conversation today, which for some teams I think is required to get the picture and scope of what it is that they accomplished last week.
Yeah. We kind of did talk about the Chiefs quite a bit as like the one from a value perspective that lapped the field. But even through this lens of like where I want to talk about these classes and champion my favorite classes for not only value, but how they address needs. I don't think you could do a better job than what the Chiefs did. I can tell you right now, I love every single pick. And I went into this draft and my three things that I thought the Chiefs needed to get done: O-line, interior defensive line, and edge. Okay, cool. Josh Simmons, Omar Norman-Lott, Ashton Gelati. I thought their ancillary needs were linebacker, receiver, running back, and corner. And guess what? Exactly what they did on day 3 with Noel Williams, Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bassett, Brashard Smith. I think Brett Veach aced the test. And I've pushed back on some of the Brett Veach celebrating in recent years.
Oh, yeah, on this one.
Yeah, and look, time will tell. But the way that I valued these players, the way that I saw their needs, I thought Kansas City absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, and they got surplus value with 5 of their 7 picks, and the other 2 were in the round that I put them in. So even when you look at it through like that value proposition, like there was no perceived, according to how I graded these players, no perceived negative value, but then just the tonality of Gelati and Norman-Lott, right?
Yeah.
And you know,
for them.
That's a physical player on the edge and a disruptive interior player. And the potential to, I think Gelati can do a multiple of alignment role and potentially, be an early down guy that plays on the edge. Him and Karlaftis, kind of the physicality of those guys there. But then like there is some penetration ability that he has, and Norman-Lott, get him on the field on third downs with Chris Jones as the other guy. He's going to get a lot of one-on-ones. Noel Williams, the ball skills are tremendous.
Yeah.
Playing with a front and Spags, it's going to force some decisions to make force some quarterbacks to make some hasty decisions. I'd be willing to bet we're probably going to see some ball production. It's not going to take him 3 years like it did Trent McDuffie to get his first interception, right? Because that's what he does. And I think when you looked at some of the young guys that they had bet on in that cornerback room, beyond Trent McDuffie, when they moved on from L'Jarius Sneed, I think that room's open. I think wide receiver room is open, and the value of getting Royals at 133, and this is an awesome class. Awesome
Dude,
class.
Even Brashard Smith, like in the Jarrett McKinnon role, it's annoying.
Yeah.
That's annoying. So Jeffrey Bass is going to help with their coverage on tight ends and the Willie Gay role, spy stuff. You know what?
Yep.
I don't know. It's, I know the Chiefs fans are loving it, but pretty much no one else is. But you deserve your flowers for this one. This is an A++ in my opinion.
Can I give you another AFC West team that I thought knocked this out of the park?
Please do.
The Raiders. From not just the scoring methodology that we went over the last 2 days, although they do rank third in the NFL in that outlook for against my grades, but again, the tonality of the football players, where you get Genty and Betch when you bring in Geno Smith and kind of there's this overhaul that exists offensively, and Brock Bowers is pre-existing. Now you get Betch as a guy who can play inside or outside, but has all this physicality, and he's one of the better run-blocking receivers to go with Genty, to go with an offensive line that you felt like had a lot of pieces, and then they drafted Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant at the end of the top 100 anyway. Now, they had the need at corner, and how ready is Darian Porter to do that? I think that's a big piece of that success story for them. But I mean, they ended up making picks at 6, 58, 68, 98, 99, 108. And really the only one that I looked at and was like, I don't know if that one I feel like is going to be a success story is Dante Thornton. And obviously there's the human element of this where maybe guys that I expect to work out don't work out. But I just love the investment on the offensive side of the ball to get a complete product ready to go there. And then the upside of what they're getting with Darian Porter, I thought was great value at 68.
I think it's a really good call out. And this Tonka Hemingway, I was going back and watching some TJ Sanders. He's got a little something to him.
He got a little something to him.
Yeah. So,
and so does Pegues, the Ole Miss tackle. And not just because they can direct snap to him, and him and Tommy Mellett going to be in the backfield together, right?
Right. Let's do all the weird things. You certainly can. That's a good call out. They got both those guys, like the super versatile, do all the stuff.
Cam Miller, my favorite day 3 quarterback as well. He got him at 215.
Which a team like the Raiders, with all these draft picks and their quarterback situation, feels like the right type of player for them to bring into the mix.
Right.
It's a good call out on the Raiders. I've got more AFC classes. It's kind of weird to start one. So let's get to the break and have a meaty conversation here on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets. Even when demand is sky high, prices on the app, they actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why I love using Game Time. Well, it is the last-minute deals and saving 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater events near you. And the all-in pricing is awesome. That means there's never any surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Floor is yours.
Yeah, I want to talk about a team that I don't want to talk about, Kyle Crabbs, and it's the New England Patriots. I thought they needed to really invest in 2 areas, their offensive line and their offensive skill players. And, they did that. Will Campbell, top 5 pick. That's going to be their left tackle. They get another offensive lineman in Jared Wilson in the 3rd round. I'm not Jared Wilson's biggest fan, but I see the appeal. I see the upside that he has to develop into potentially even an impact starter. And then you get more explosive in the skill players with Travion Henderson and Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
I love that. We kind of talked about this, like those other investments that they had at receiver. I was, for them, hoping that it wouldn't preclude them from picking a player like Kyle Williams. You didn't have to let it play out with Polk or Baker or Pop Douglas. Like those guys didn't stop you from going after a Kyle Williams. So I think the down the field stuff I think is going to mesh well with Drake May and kind of stylistically how he is as a quarterback. So I love what they did with their like intentionality with those day 1, day 2 picks to help their team in areas that they should. And look, I'm definitely somebody who believes like you don't want to have a lot of developing players around a developing quarterback. But I thought with guys like Morgan Moses and Steph Diggs and Mac Hollins, you did enough to like supplement your young players with some very established veterans who are all renowned as great teammates and locker room guys. I think that's going to work out well for them. But then even some value picks that they got on day 3, some of my favorite day 3 picks, and Josh Farmer, 4th round pick out of Florida State, late 4th round pick, and Braden Swinson, a 5th round pick, who I think most people thought could go 3rd round. Those are really nice ways to continue adding to your front, where I really like how their back sevens come together. So I'm thinking this Patriots roster's pretty freaking good, and Mike Vrabel's a pretty good head coach, and it's all about Drake May and the step he can take and, you know, offensively coming together. But I think this team's going to play good defense, and I think they've got really nice pieces in place to take a big step offensively, and you know, I think they might be knocking on the door here.
Yeah, I think you're probably looking at their optimal competitive window probably starting in 2026, just with all the youth and new players on the roster. But like to have the nucleus of talent in place and to get a draft class like this, where I agree with you, I think Will Campbell, maybe in a perfect world, if you believe he's a tackle, you probably have no issues with him going at number 4. But I graded as an inside guy, so you kind of, if you wanted to nitpick sit here and say, well, in a perfect world, maybe Will Campbell, if you were one of the people that thought his ceiling was better inside and you would grade him better inside, doesn't go 4, but they needed that on the offensive line, right? I mean, they really needed to kind of tie that group together. They'd kind of taken these repeated swings of the bat, in the middle rounds, 3rd, 4th round. Jake Andrews just got cut, right? It's a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
That's not a nothing investment. And I know that wasn't this coaching staff's investment, but like that kind of embodied how they tried to attack the offensive line.
Yeah.
So to get somebody you felt really good about to tie the group together, and then have Jared Wilson at center and Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson, that whole collection. And I don't know that you mentioned Craig Woodson, but I like Craig Woodson quite a bit. Now, I had him 4-5, so I didn't think they got like crazy good value, but he's a smart player with good physical. I think he's going to blend really well with what they have out there in the secondary already. So yeah, I think this draft class is one that you look at from top to bottom, and you should have reasons to be optimistic for a lot of the names here for a team that drafted by volume.
What you got, man?
Let's see. We should probably do the thing with the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like anytime we're talking draft classes that come out as success stories, the Ravens should be on this list, and they let the board fall to them and got Malachi Starks at 27. They're kind of replaced Marcus Williams on their outlook from their depth chart perspective. The value of Mike Green, obviously there's questions that don't involve playing football for Mike Green. You get past that 1-2 punch, and I think that's really where they got the meat of their, what I thought was surplus value, and really like the value of what they got. Teddy Buchanan's a fun player, played the 1 year at Cal, plays with his hair on fire. We kind of heard some rumblings that they were interested in adding to linebacker. I mean, you had heard Carson Schweschinger kind of teased as a potential late round 1 option for them. Buchanan's a pretty diverse player, just has the 1 year of playing at Cal. So it's kind of the question of how quickly he makes the jump. I love Carson Vincent. They got him at 141, potentially a developmental guy to step in behind Ronnie Stanley long-term. Now that has to happen. There has to be player development involved in there. So we'll see what that looks like. You mentioned yesterday the value of Aeneas Peebles and getting him at 210. I think it'd be whether it's an odd front end on passing situations or a guy that you just kind of play at the 3 and let go crazy when you're in even front. And then I liked Robert Longerbeam from Rutgers as well, was somebody who I had graded slightly higher than where they drafted him. So I'm looking not just at the value, although the value of this class I think is defined by the first 2 picks, but then the day 3 selections of Buchanan and Vincent and Peebles and Longerbeam, like all of those guys jump out to me as yeah, I could see those guys hitting for Baltimore and being meaningful football players for them.
Grass is green, water is wet, and we like the Ravens draft class.
Yeah, well.
What'd you think about the Tyler Linderbaum thing? Obviously, don't pick up the 5th-year option, which makes complete sense, and hopefully that's exactly what the league needs to change the structure so that we're not lumping
put all the offensive linemen in the same bucket together.
Yeah, I mean there's no way you let Linderbaum go. Like that's such a hit. There's no panic, but
I don't think they'd use they'll find a dollar amount that's much more palpable than the franchise tag and not need it. But
$20
can
million
we just, even if you don't do center and then guard and then tackle, can we just do interior line and
there's common sense.
Because those centers are still going to get juiced by these guard contracts now anyway. Like it's still going to be a respectable number. That's not $24 million for a 5th-year option.
Yeah. All right, I'll do the thing here, Kyle. And I'll be honest with you, like I think it would be disingenuous for me to not bring up this team, and it's the Miami Dolphins. Because
you're not the only person that I'm going to hear is going to say that they like anything about this class.
Yeah, trust me, I'm not doing this to butter anybody up. I mean, as this draft class is going, people are sending me messages like you did this, like you got all these players that you like to the Miami Dolphins because that's just what happens.
You have that power.
I do. I have weirdest power over Miami to draft players that I like. Kenneth Grant, Jonas Savianaya, Jordan Phillips, like legitimately 3 of my favorite prospects in this class. And Miami entered this draft with some holes, right? They needed help at D tackle, needed help at corner, needed help interior offensive line. And it was going to be very difficult for them to come out of this and make everyone happy and check every box. That was always an uphill climb. But for me, fix the freaking trenches. Like get the D-line and O-line piece figured out, and we'll figure out corner. And I'll say this. I think Miami's planning on a post-draft wave of free agency. There's corners. There's veteran corners out there that they can go after and bring into this operation. But to get the upside of the trenches figured out, and not just like, hey, we got some O-line and D-line, like some absolute monsters. Like, I love these players. Jonas Savianaya was a guy that I had a late 1, early 2 grade on that I'm like, you're talking about some of these guys that people are projecting late 1st, early 2nd. Like Savianaya is the guy, like tone setter type people, like guys that are going to improve the physicality and toughness of the football team. So no, they didn't get a corner. I'm sorry they didn't get a corner, but damn it, they got 2 defensive tackles that are absolute dogs up front. And Savianaya, who's an absolute monster on the offensive line. I don't know. I come away like, I think if I didn't come out here and say that I liked this Dolphins draft, I'd be lying, because I mean, the validation is what I said pre-draft and what people said to me during the draft. And even like going on day 3, Ollie Gordon, I think for how Miami wants to play offense, to have a guy like him that can serve in pass pro and like maximize your eligibles elsewhere. Like, you want that pass pro element for Tua. I think that's a great day 3 pick as well. So I'm here for this Dolphins draft.
I gave it a B. Yes, I did the report card yesterday. I know the thing that stung was you had 10 picks and you only ended up making 8. So the opportunity cost there of not making as many picks as you were scheduled going in, and you felt like the meat of the class was the day 2 and you only made the 1 pick on day 2. That's the critiques for me. But the critiques that don't stand up are, they drafted a nose tackle at 13. Did you watch? Did anybody watch Kenneth Grant?
I continue to think nobody did.
Like, he's got the same pressure rate the last 2 years as Walter Nolan. Like, just because he's 330, right? Like, he's played almost 75% of his snaps came in the BGAP. But he's a nose tackle because he's 330, I guess. But I'll say this, and then we're going to switch over to NFC. The biggest complaint everybody had about the Dolphins the last 2 or 3 years was what? Soft football team.
Mm-hmm.
So they draft a bunch of guys that aren't soft. A bunch of physical between Phillips and Grant and Savianaya and Dante. I'd put Dante Trader in at safety there. He's a physical support player. Ollie Gordon, you mentioned. Even Jason Marshall, when he's at his best. Now, I've got a bunch of concerns about him in coverage, but when he's best is when he's playing physical and playing at the line of scrimmage and playing press. So I think that's the commonality when you look at what they did in free agency and what they did in the draft. And when you're looking at, hey, what do you like that a team achieved? I think that's when it's fair to invoke the Dolphins, even if they didn't maximize the value or they didn't make all the picks you wanted them to make, or if you had the concerns that exist about what gap Kenneth Grant's going to play with Miami this year upcoming.
Yeah, it'll be pretty good next to Zach Sealer. I think that'll help both those guys out. All right, we're getting into the NFC classes here next. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite TV shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Plus, the entertainment options are endless. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services, such as Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen.
I was gonna make a Bill Belichick interview joke, but we got some draft classes to get to, so I'm not gonna do it. So remind me tomorrow for Takes on Takes, and I'll remind you.
All right.
To make the joke about your thoughts on Bill. Favorite NFC draft class for Joe Marino is blank.
I'll go with the Giants. I love what the New York Giants did. I came in, 3 things I thought they needed to figure out was quarterback, the ceiling of your offensive line, and a running mate for Dexter Lawrence inside. And you did that, and you didn't panic at the top of the draft.
Yeah.
You didn't force anything weird with that top 3 pick. You got a consensus top 2 player in Abdul Carter, number 1 player for me. You got him at number 3. You didn't let the presence of Kayvon Thibodeau or Brian Burns stop you from drafting that type of player. So I love that. I think they deserve credit for that. Whatever you think of Jackson Dart, doesn't matter. The Giants love him, and they didn't have to pay a quarterback tax to get to 25. It's like a very modest trade.
Yeah.
And they needed a swing at quarterback. And Jackson Dart is, to me, a ball of clay that checks a lot of baseline boxes: size, arm talent, movement skills. He's got a lot of appeal, and now it's about molding him into your vision for how you want this offense to go. But also Darius Alexander in the 3rd round, I think, is exactly the type of running mate I was hoping they would get for Dexter Lawrence. So I think that's a lot of potential there, but keep going. Cam Scatabo to go with Tyrone Tracy, like, that's a fun pair. That's going to help you with your identity of toughness and being able to convert short yardage. I think that's a fun pairing. Marcus Mbow certainly helps elevate the ceiling of the offensive line, like I liked. Thomas Fedone was like one of my favorite upside plays at tight end. They can use some help there. Yeah. And then Corey Black is like a lot of people's favorite like sleeper corner with athleticism. To get him late 7, I don't know. I really like how this class came together, and just maybe Joe Shane has stacked together a couple of nice classes here.
Which he needed, because that first one didn't go too well, right? The Giants were the 2nd highest rated NFC draft class that I had with my scoring methodology for value. So I think they got value up and down the board. And especially when you put the Jackson Dart selection where I had a 2 and he went late 1, but the need at quarterback and the value of what it cost in the trade to get that done made it very palpable and easily digestible. Dallas Cowboys.
That's your favorite.
Joe, they got...
It's good. I didn't know it was your favorite, though.
They got Izaraku at 44.
Yeah.
And they got Savon Revel at 76.
Good. It's very good.
I had a late 1, early 2 on Tyler Booker, so I didn't love like the mathematical value of that pick. But given that Zach Martin is gone, the fact that they continue to invest in that group, and Booker, with how mean he is, with BB, with Tyler Smith, like I see it. I see the vibes that they're putting up front.
And look, if Dallas deserves the benefit of the doubt on anything, it's their first round offensive lineman. Like you mentioned, Zach Martin,
Amazing
Tyler Smith,
track
even Travis Frederick. A lot of people are like, hey, oh, that guy was freaking awesome for a long time. So I do give them the benefit of the doubt on O-line.
So Booker and then Izaraku at 44, I think is outstanding value for a team that, how I quite like Sam William and Marshawn Nealon. What's the status of those guys? DeMarcus Lawrence walks, right? Like amazing value. I think he's going to come in and be a really valuable part of the rotation. Revel was one of my favorite players in the class. Obviously, the small school and knee injury there were contributing factors to why he gets to 76. But for a team that has the questions that they have with Trayvon Diggs, with him having offseason surgery this year, and what they got to figure out if they're going to pay DeRon Bland with what they're paying Dak and what they're paying CD, and depending on what else they do from a big contracts perspective, that's I think an awesome value at 76. And then you get to the day 3 picks, and I like the value of Jadon Blue at 149, a really dynamic player. If he didn't have ball security issues, he's a top 100 pick. Right now, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, right? So, like, you got ball security issues, but there's a receiving profile for him as a player that Texas used him a lot, and he showcased a big-time separation ability. I really like Shamar James. I had a 4th-round grade on Shamar James, who they got at 152 for a team who's kind of slapped it together at off-ball linebacker. That's a young player. He's 20 years old. He's not going to be 21 for a little bit yet. Developmental guy in Ajani Cornelius for the right side of that offensive line to figure out potentially right tackle, and they've had good offensive line development as well. And then I like what they got in Jay Toya. I had a 5th-round grade on Jay Toya. They got up at 217. Now he's a nose tackle. Do you know he's related to who was the kid that was at LSU then transferred to Baylor? I was in the 1st-round mocks for a while, a little bit, and then went on day the 4th round or something like that. You know who I'm talking about?
Ika?
Yeah, he's related to Apu Ika.
He has three different acceptable first names. Siaki, Apu. There's one more, I'm pretty sure.
So, like, and he's built just like him. It was really funny. I'm like, man, he reminds me of Ika. And then you look up his bio and it's like, he's related to Ika. Like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But, like, this is the kind of value where a guy like that, I think, is great value at 2 cents. So, top to bottom, I think they did the low-hanging fruit thing at 12, but the rest of this class, man, like I thought they got great value and they got players that I'm excited about.
I'd love to empty the chamber real quick on some shout outs, and then maybe you have like to want to blitz this at the end.
Yep.
So last minute shout outs for me. I'm going to go to the 49ers. Big questions about their D-line, Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West. Hello. Thank you. Plus I love Jordan Watkins, like as a day 3 receiver. That gets me excited.
Eagle at 162, man.
That's a good one. And Nick Martin, I think, was like an upside play at linebacker. Kind of curious to see how that factors into the equation. So 49ers are on my short list. Seattle is another team. Good job. You did the thing. You got an interior offensive lineman, but Eamon Worry for them is fun late, with Coach McDonald. I like that. Elijah Arroyo in the 2nd round. Yeah. I think really helps diversify their offense. I think Milroe in the 3rd round is perfect for them. Torrey Horton in the 5th round, I absolutely love. And then Damian Martinez in the 7th. Like, sign me up for that all day long. So those are my last-minute NFC shout-outs.
Those 2 teams also got day 3 interior offensive linemen, with the 49ers getting Connor Colby from Iowa. He's tailor-made wide zone offensive guard. Like, it's a perfect scheme fit, and you got him in the last 10 picks of the draft. And then Seattle got Bryce Cabaldu, who's a tackle at Kansas, who's going to project inside the guard because he doesn't have great length. But if you told me he won a starting job at some point, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he's got really nice tape as well. So I think those 2 teams with those 2 spots, I'll shout out the Bucks. I really like just like the brand of football players that the Bucks landed.
Yeah, it's hard not to like it. Yeah.
Ibuka, Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, David Walker, Elijah Roberts, Tez Johnson. Man, what a class that is, huh?
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it for sure.
A lot of brand players there. I also think Washington got a lot of brand players with Josh Connerly, Trey Amos. Jalen Lane was the pick I wasn't crazy about, but
for them, quick game,
and the speed that he has, I get why he's a fit for them. I loved Kane Medrano as like the day 3 special teams linebacker that maybe he puts on some more weight and can figure out how to play the run. But he could fly like the wind. I think he's a great teams player to add. And there's some pass coverage upside for him as well. And then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is a productive. He had a productive year this past year. He popped big time at the Shrine. He's got some pass game chops, maybe long-term air for Eckler. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. Those 2 classes for me at the NFC side of things also stood out.
A lot of good classes. I could even say something about the Titans and Philly did good things. The Titans and the AFC, I think, is another call out. I like what the Bills did. There's a lot
I actually had the Bills ranked higher than the Dolphins, and I didn't want to get into that can of worms because I didn't want to do the exchange where you did the Dolphins.
Yeah, I get it. I beat you to the punch. I did that on purpose.
So, but Buffalo, I think, had a great tonality draft as well.
Should be better on third down defense, right? You'd like to think.
Right. Yeah,
with that for the offseason investments combined with this, like, okay,
we're going to be a lot deeper.
The Bills had
depth issues on the defensive line.
They had the 4th highest or longest average yards to go on third down, and we're still like bottom of the pack on third down stop defense. Rates. Like, all right, this is stupid. Let's get some players.
Anything else?
No, I think we talked about like a lot of the league. So
we got about half the teams mentioned.
Right.
So.
Kind of concerning if your team didn't come up, but today we're here to talk about our favorite classes. So no big slander today.
Tomorrow is Takes on Takes.
Good reminder. I got to get the tots.
Yep. So get everybody's takes, hot takes. We'll react to your hot takes. I have one about how to solve the prank call issue.
Oh, you do? Do you have any takes on gorillas and how many Kyle Crabbs it would take to beat
a lot more than 100? I can tell you that the silverback would.
Oh, really?
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
I had 30 Joe Marinos could handle one of those gorillas.
You think so?
30. That's a lot, man.
I don't know if I've seen too much of gorillas or what, but
they're nuts, dude. But 30 is a lot, and
I get it, but
there's some primate expert on X has been talking about how they don't have great stamina.
I've seen all these computer game simulations though that have like it's the 1 and then the 100 and they run at each other and the people go flying. And,
it's not a great scene.
Yeah,
not a great scene.
I don't know.
There's going to be casualties, but I think 30 can get it done.
I'll leave you for this. You can think about it for tomorrow, but I don't know who it was, so my apologies on the timeline. Oh, it was Big Play _ Dave. Solution: don't call the players before the pick. Let them watch the TV live and see their name and hear their name announced at the podium for their reaction, and then call them after the pick is announced.
I don't know about. You got to check and make sure that, like a wellness check, like, hey, we're going to do this. You good? You're here.
Call the agent.
Is that your solution? You did the pod before the pod.
It's not my take. It's Big Play Dave's take.
So you have a different solution here?
No, that's. I wanted to bring that take for Takes on Takes tomorrow. So think about it.
Oh yeah, I will.
But let them hear their name announced at the podium and then call them.
We will break that down tomorrow.
Great. That's going to do it for us here today. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino. Appreciate you guys as always making a great rest of your day. We're out of here.